Welcome to this week's episode of Virtually Amazing Assistants, the podcast for assistants everywhere. And I keep forgetting to say the tagline when I'm recording, so it's very odd. It just shows you all that I'm a human being behind the microphone and camera and all that. So today I am totally thrilled to be talking to the amazing Sarah Howsen and Marianne Whitlock of Strategic PA Network. And I can't remember how long we've known each other, but we've bumped into each other online and offline over the past few years. And it's been so lovely to see you both at the PA show the last few years, and hopefully again this year if you're coming, because I'm so excited to be getting on a plane in a not that too distant future now. So who are Sarah and Marianne? So I'm going to try and get this right. But as ever, I have a crib sheet and I'm going to talk about them individually and then together. So Marianne, I'll start with you because that's the order it's on my sheet. So Marianne is the director at Strategic PA Recruitment and Strategic PA Network. And before she co-founded that with Sarah, she worked in, I didn't know this. You worked in sales in a luxury Canadian train company. Does that mean you lived in Canada? But you can answer that in a minute. In the travel industry for over 15 years, specializing in client relationships and networking, which doesn't surprise me. And Marianne is passionate about bringing people together and recognizing their strengths. And she enjoys empowering people to achieve their full potential. She lives in Penn with her husband and 4 boys, loves running marathons, something you would never get me doing, and has a passion for kickboxing. And you've got 4 black belts, not happy with one, you had to go for 4. Okay, so let's talk about Sarah. So is it Sarah or Sarah?
Sarah, no, you got it right.
Sarah. I just sometimes wonder about that. So Sarah is also founder and director at Strategic PA Network, but Sarah has a different experience to Marianne, which I think is really interesting. The fact that you have such diverse backgrounds and you have over 20 years of C-suite level experience, beginning assisting as CEO of a small startup semiconductor company, and later supported the CEO and CFO of a FTSE 250 international oil and gas support services company. That's quite different, although both technology-ish. Sarah founded Strategic PA Network in 2015 to bring together like-minded assistants. And she's passionate about networking, which totally is true. And she's created a vibrant network that's grown significantly and been nominated for the Manchester PA Awards. Sarah lives in Woburn Green, Buckinghamshire, with her husband and 2 young boys, and enjoys spending time outside and supporting local charity Smart Works Reading. So you're both quite involved in charities or have an interest in being involved in charities, which is really interesting. So what did I miss from all of that long introduction?
Well, first of all, I have 5 black belts now.
Yeah.
So
Oh my goodness.
I did another grading last year, and I have 5 black belts. I teach kickboxing still once a week. So
Oh, wow.
2 ladies and teenage girls, so which I absolutely love. I get so much more out of that than they give to me. So it's something I really look forward to each week.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. How about you, Sarah? Did I miss anything from yours?
I'm definitely not the black belt contender of the duo. No, certainly with the 2 boys I've got keep me on my feet though. That's certainly for sure. But no, I think you covered that really well.
Brilliant introduction.
Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, before I launch into all my questions, I've actually got one question that I just thought of before, which I don't think I've ever asked you when we've met, is how did you 2 get together and where did the idea of the whole thing come from?
Oh my gosh. And it's not something we keep a secret, is it?
No.
But not everybody asks, so thank you.
Yeah.
We sometimes bring it out as our fun fact because we're actually family, which not many people know.
By marriage.
By marriage,
yeah. Because obviously I'm the little one and Sarah's the tall one.
Yeah. No, my cousin, obviously Marianne's husband. Yeah. So yeah, we're related, but similar ethos, similar values, and
work ethic.
We work really nicely.
We do. And how Strategic PA kind of came about. I mean, you mentioned earlier about Sarah launching the network 10 years ago. But 5 years ago, at the time I was doing a lot of kickboxing and teaching, probably 7 or 8 classes a week. But my boys were a bit big. I think my youngest had just started school, because I have 4 boys, as we said. And I approached Sarah, knowing that we'd both done a bit of recruitment before, but Sarah had done lots, to kind of say, hey, can you help me sort out my CV? And Sarah's like, well, I've got another idea.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow,
It just kind of works.
it just works. Yeah. So we came together then and kind of formalized our partnership.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And I'm sure that our listeners will be really interested in, then they'll be asking you for your fun fact next time they meet you, or they'll be commenting on it. Although, listeners, we are recording this episode on January the 9th. And according to my trusty spreadsheet over there, it will be aired on the 29th of April, because I am in the amazing position of having so many people who agreed to come and talk to me on the podcast, that I've got podcasts I will have, by the time I finish the current lot, podcasts up to the 3rd of June, which is
wow.
just
Kudos
unbelievable.
to you.
Yeah.
That's before I open up slots for the next lot, which I'm going to do shortly. So, having got that all out of the way, my first pre-prepared question, which I have listeners sent to Marianne and Sarah, because it's not fair to spring this sort of thing on them. It can put you really on the back foot. So, you've got such a diverse background in sales and the travel industry, and you've really successfully transitioned into the role of director at Strategic PA Recruitment and the network. So can you share how your previous experiences have influenced your approach to leadership and networking in your current role? And listeners, before you say, wow, Shelley writes such wonderful questions, I'll just let you know that I cheated. Well, I didn't cheat. I used technology, which is one of the things that I talk about a lot. I used Copilot within Microsoft Office 365 to summarize Sarah and Marianne's biographies, come up with those little snippets, and suggest the kind of questions I could ask. So it was a brilliantly worded question, and you've probably forgotten what it was by now. So over to you, Marianne.
It's all good. You're right. Really diverse background, particularly if you put a lifestyle business for kickboxing in there. I mean, it is diverse. So what's shaped me is some of my previous bosses, I think. I've been really lucky to work with some phenomenal people. And when I was in luxury travel at Rocky Mountaineer, I had an amazing boss called Sarah McIntyre. Another Sarah. I seem to cultivate Sarahs. And do you know what? She showed me a different way of working. It's not clock watching. It's not the hours. It's about what you do with your day. It's flexing your day. And it's not just being in the office 9 till 5:30. We, obviously in travel, we worked long hours. We would often be in trade shows from 7 in the morning. And then we would be entertaining our clients until 3 a.m. wherever we might have ended up. So, it's all about, and she is such a mentor to me even now, about cultivating relationships, really having strong long-term partnerships. And I think the networking side allowed me to forge and create meaningful relationships as well, with clients, with partners, stakeholders throughout my career. In luxury travel, I worked with, businesses, organizations, and those skills, I think, seamlessly transferred to my current role. And the connections are kind of built on trust and have been pivotal in my professional success. And establishing myself as a trusted expert in my field as well, whether that's sharing insights or hosting roundtable events like we do now. It's connecting, I think, with like-minded professionals, and networking, I think, helps elevate your position as a leader in business support and in recruitment as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And one of the things that I miss living so far away is being able to get to face-to-face networking events now that we can do them again. In fact, I was actually this week in Jerusalem at an English-speaking network for business owners here. But whether anything will transpire from that, I don't know, because it's a completely different culture here to the UK and Europe and the US. And training is definitely viewed in a different way here. It's kind of go and learn it yourself. You clever enough, do it yourself. So we'll see what happens. So that was really interesting. So Sarah, you've got over 20 years of C-suite level experience. And you've created this amazing community, which I've witnessed because, I've spoken at at least one of your online events, if not two. And I've met, seen how people flock around you at the PA show. So what inspired you to start the network, and how do you see it evolving in the future?
Oh, well, interestingly, so I went on maternity leave 10 years ago. It's funny because my son's 10 this year, which means the network's 10. So, you kind of put those two together and realize how time flies when you have fun. But I went off for a whole year. I knew I was going to be off for a year because it took me a little while to have my little one. So I knew I was going to be off for a year. I was 24/7 in the role at the time. So I worked with the CEO and CFO of the oil and gas company as a PLC, full on. And any EA knows in those roles where it's kind of demanding, you are on 24/7. It's international business. Australia clocks on, then it's Asia, Middle East, and your cycle kind of goes like that. But from having a ginormous little boy, bless his heart, he was 11 pound 3 when he was born, and I had a C-section because everyone looks at me when I say that. But he just slept, Shelley. I was so lucky. He just slept. He was such a good boy. Obviously, loved
Can I
his
just say,
food.
number 2 changed all of that. So Sarah was lucky.
Number 2 was the opposite. So I got my comeuppance. But I guess I drove my husband nuts because if you're that kind of person where you're working all the time, you need projects, you need things to do. And I ventured onto Twitter and actually came across Lindsay Taylor, Lucy Brazier, Matthew Want at the time, and reached out and said, does anyone know of any events in Buckinghamshire or any networks? Because back then networking wasn't really a thing all those many years ago. It was kind of the big four, and that was it. And I think Lucy and Lindsay both said, we'll come and support and speak at an event. And we launched at Stoke Park, and we had 60 EAs come along, which blew my mind. And it was the start of something really special because we're now a real lovely, welcoming, thriving community. And I think until this role, you're lonely in, aren't you? You're on your own, you're siloed often. There's a fine line between, friendships in an organization. You've got that kind of confidentiality piece, I think, that's really key. So to have a group of individuals that just get each other is magical. You say it's board week, everyone gets, everyone knows what's going on, and you don't have to explain yourself. You just feel comfortable.
Warm, inclusive. No one stands on their own.
Yeah, no one stands.
Yeah. Now that's really important. I up until recently, actually, I've been a member of a community of trainers, which is the same sort of thing. As a trainer, a freelance trainer, you are also on your own, and you need that community around you where when you've had a really bad session, for whatever reason, whether it's you're having a down day or your delegates are being the delegates from hell, which happens, you need somewhere that you can go and say, oh, I've just had them, and everybody understands. I totally get that. So that's amazing. And I keep saying that. So I noticed when I was editing an episode before this is the second episode I've recorded today, and I was just editing the previous one, and I'm now realizing all the words that I repeat and hopefully cut out with this amazing software that I'm using. So I'm able to remove them once I've spotted them. So what's been the highlight, do you think? I mean, funnily enough, talking about 10-year anniversaries. So Facebook popped up a memory for me today. It was 10 years since I became a fellow of the Learning and Performance Institute, because there's a photograph certificate that had arrived that day in the post. And I can't believe that's 10 years ago. It really feels like yesterday. So, and my children are much, 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 much older than yours, but I still remember sleepless nights. I still remember those. So what was I going to get? The number 10. So what's been the highlight so far for you? Is there anything that stood out along this journey?
I think there's lots. I think one of the things we love is being able to spotlight others. So in our events, we often do panel discussions, and it's being able to give the floor to other EAs and other PAs and give other people a voice to let them shine. So that and watching someone's journey from being perhaps quite shy, nervous, to then waltzing into a room and kind of owning being the one connecting people, watching people grow has been like definitely one of mine.
I think so. I think it's the journey we've been on, Shelley. I'll be honest. We started working together literally probably 6 months before lockdown. We launched our recruitment agency literally the month before. So we've had the last 5 years, running your own business, it's a baptism of fire, but we've learned and navigated it together.
Yeah.
I think a highlight for me is our relationship, if I'm going to be honest. You don't know when you start something what's going to happen, but we quickly discovered, I think we said earlier, the same work ethic and just, the same values. And we're really different to how we thought we'd be in business. Bearing in mind my background is sales and marketing, and Sarah was VEA, I'm much more corporate governance. I'm much more operations. And Sarah is the creativity behind us. Everything you see gets put out, from the programs to the canvas. It's all Sarah. She is amazing at the marketing side, which is what I thought would have been me. But it's not me at all. And you're really good, so you can do that.
It's funny because I think you play to your strengths, don't you? Like everyone, and that's definitely
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, if you worked in sales in a travel company for 15 years, so there must have been some kind of corporate governance going on there. So
of course, and I love to work out how things work, why things work, and put procedures in place. So and we're both still prolific list makers. I think my very first role was an admin as well. I think everybody's had an admin role,
exactly,
which is why we love what we do now. Because we just it's a passion.
I was an admin once too.
Exactly.
I worked for a small charity, and this is how I got into computers. So the first time I worked for a little small Jewish charity in London. They were bringing a group of 38 people to Israel on a sponsored walk, a fundraising activity. And this was I started working at Happy in 1998. So it must have been about 1994, 1995, which is way before many of our listeners will have been born. But hey ho. Or they may have been little children, maybe not been before they were born, but they were little children. And there were no computers around. Well, we had one in the office, and all of our sponsorship stuff was all lists on graph paper and lined paper. And I was just getting really fed up of adding up who'd given what money and who'd paid for flights. And my husband had recently gone on his own, and he had computers in the office. And we had one computer at home, and I thought there's got to be an easier way. So I bought a book about Excel and a book about Access, and I taught myself how to build a database, loaded all of this detail onto it, took it on a floppy disk into the office on Monday morning, and said, look what we can do.
Yeah, love that.
And I went from there.
Me too. I remember.
I remember Access, and it's funny you talking about all the old tools and technologies. There's like the fax machine, the BlackBerry, like how it's evolved over the years.
Well, you live in the moment now, don't you, with everything we've got? And you're right, when you see the journey from the tech side, from when because I was obviously very much alive and quite old in 1994.
Yeah, well, our daughter turns 40 next year, so that's kind of I don't know how that happened. It's just a bit crazy. But I'm not retiring yet. I've reached the age of retirement, but I'm not retiring yet.
No, definitely not.
It keeps me busy, and I love what I do, and I still get a kick out of somebody saying, wow, I didn't know I could do that, or you've just saved me 30 minutes, or whatever it might be. So you rebranded not that long ago. In fact, your rebrand is so good that I can't remember your original name.
I'll take that as a massive compliment.
Because we were really, really wary about how we did it and very careful.
Exactly. But no,
it's been dripped in, and subconsciously I don't think of you as anything other than Strategic PA Network now.
No, but back in the days that was Bucks PA Network, and then Bucks and Oxfordshire PA Network.
So BBO.
BBO is that's right. BBO was how I knew of you. So I think you've done a phenomenal job. And what I think is really interesting also is that when I see the jobs that you put out on LinkedIn, how you're recruiting for them, I can really see the value in working with you if I was up for one of those positions, because you clearly understand both sides of the coin. So what the organization's after and what the EA or PA is going to be expecting as well. And that comes across in the way that you advertise, for want of a better word, your positions. So how do people approach you? What happens? Does an organization come to you? Do you go find them? How does all that side work?
We feel like this year, by the way, I'm gonna preempt this. This year we're going to be massively proactive with our business development.
Excellent.
However, until this moment, pretty much 90% is recommendation, referral, and repeat business.
Fantastic. That really is it.
Your point about knowing is interesting, because now there's nothing I love more now than sitting across from a CEO and kind of talking to them and really being, having an open and transparent discussion about the role of an EA, and actually being able to kind of bang the drum and really articulate how an EA can support them from a strategic point of view, because a lot of leaders don't realise still. I mean, I think we're coming a long way.
We are, the education piece. I mean, we feel quite privileged to be able to have a seat at the table, and the way we work is absolutely as an extension of an existing talent acquisition team. But even more so, candidates for us, Shelley, are at the heart of everything we do. Without our candidates, we're nothing. And we need to have, we're not high street, we don't want to be. We need to have the integrity to be able to look our candidates in the eye. Because of the network, we meet 95% of our candidates. And we need to know that we've done a good job and our candidates have been dealt with in the most professional, respectful, but warm and kind of nurturing manner that we can.
Yeah.
I think that's great. So if any of our listeners are thinking about changing their role, either within an organization or maybe trying something new, going to a different organization, so do they just get in touch with you, or do they scour the ads, or what do they do?
Oh my gosh, we do several. We have a day, usually Fridays, for candidate calls. We love meeting our candidates. Even if somebody isn't looking to work with us, for us, it's so circular. It's about really looking after the person, because job hunting is hard.
It's not easy.
It's very hard.
And we like to, we're there for coaching, mentoring. Every call we have, Shelley, we want everybody to come away feeling like they're valued and important, and they have a phenomenal background. And we coach on CVs. Yeah. In fact, you are not a CV geek.
I love going through someone's CV, and I think one of the topics that we're going to touch on this year from a network perspective is really articulating your value and really kind of being able to highlight and showcase your personal strengths and what you can bring to the table. Because I think every personal assistant has had a different journey, and an EA to CEO in one company can be so different to an EA CEO in another company. It depends on the industry, on the size, whether it's public, private, etc. So everyone has such a unique journey and different strengths, and pulling those out with people sometimes is so frustrating, because you're like, you are amazing, and being able to get them to showcase that on a CV is really, really key for their development.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I remember when I left the company that I was employed by as an IT trainer, because that's how I started. I learned to be a trainer in a company, and I wrote my CV, which was basically a list. It wasn't very well written. I do write well, but that one just kind of, I didn't know how to do it. And I can't remember what happened. I think I won a CV rewrite, or somebody offered me it for, it was about £50, which was quite a lot of money when I was just starting out. Now I would think it was very reasonable, but at that point I thought it was a lot of money. But what they came back, we had a conversation. I think we were on the phone for about an hour, and the thing that came back to me bore no resemblance whatsoever to what I'd written. I thought, who is this person? She's amazing. So I think you're right. It's very important to be able to tell that story.
Yeah. And CVs are so subjective, by the way.
Yeah.
What one person sees as something from a recruitment perspective, somebody won't. And we always say that. And we By the way, charging £50, we do it for free.
Yeah.
So we are always happy to run over someone's CV and support them in any way and offer our thoughts based on our experience. But we caveat that by saying, as I said, you have to be comfortable with your CV. It's your board paper.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we start to wrap up, because we have been going for 25 minutes according to my little recording clock down here, because it doesn't feel like 25 minutes. Have you got any tips and tricks for people, things that they should think about, learnings from your journey? So have you got any tips for our listeners?
I mean, why don't you think about networking?
Yeah, no, I think from a networking perspective, really think about, I guess, how you are involved personally when it comes to networking. If someone would have said to me 20 years ago, Sarah, networking is really important, start doing it, build your connections, build your little black book, support people, help people, who knows where anyone would be.
Prime Minister, Sarah.
But no, I think, think about networking for you as well. I think a lot of EAs and PAs work for their leader, for their company, but not necessarily for themselves. So kind of be a bit targeted. Think of people who can help and support you, but equally giving back, who you can support and help as well. So I think that's an important and a nice element of networking that I specifically love.
And I think we always say whenever we meet with anyone, it's what can we do to support you? And that's really the way we live. What can we do to support you? And I think really when you're thinking about, I suppose, for a role, it's also taking a moment to kind of what defines you professionally, what skills and values and experience would set you apart. It's critical when networking or applying for a role, I think, as people in your network will remember and recommend you for positions that align with your personal brand. So I think it's be clear about the value you bring to the team.
And translating that into the CV, as we discussed, is really important. That top half of that first page of your CV is a real window and a real, you've got 2 seconds, 3 seconds before someone kind of flips you to the next page. So just really think about that in terms of marketing yourself when you're putting your CV together. And we've written a couple of articles and we've done some things, and always happy. We've got
CV workshops throughout the year. And they're always complimentary. We're always happy to support anybody who's looking for a role. And in fact, if anybody is out of work, you have a complimentary invite to our networking events.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So where do your networking events take place physically now?
Wow.
London mainly, and kind of southeast with Bucks, Berks and Oxfordshire. So, Oxford, Reading, Newbury.
Yeah, I suppose what we have on a monthly basis, we usually do a breakfast networking event. We have an online power hour once a month, 12:30 to 1:30, and then we have an evening event. But with the network, everything we do is learning and development focus. So we partner with amazing venues and we partner with amazing speakers, and we've worked with yourself, of course, on an online event.
No. Yes, I've done at least one online one for you. It's always fun. It's always fun. But assistant system, my favourite people.
Completely. It's always key takeaways and learnings. We definitely bridge the gap. It can be because business support is seen as a function. And to be fair, some organisations do see it as a function, but you're not HR, you're not marketing. Often miss off that L&D budget. And we definitely bridge that gap as well. And we want to be professional in that respect.
Absolutely.
That's great. So are you a membership? Do people pay you a membership fee?
We do. We have a formalised membership, bronze, silver, gold, platinum. Silver being online, gold being everything, and platinum including our awards and our summit.
Fantastic. I didn't know that, so I've learned something new about you today as well. I've learned lots of things new, and I hope our listeners have too. So listeners, this has been an amazing chat with Sarah and Marianne from Strategic PA Network and Recruitment. Get both in. PA Network and Recruitment, and I think it's been fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with you at the PA show again. Yes, we have to do the obligatory screen grab. I've just done a screen grab, but mine's not as good as yours probably is. So hold on a second, everybody smile. That's better. Right, so we've got the screen grab, which I'll post in a little while, and it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with the two of you. I'm looking forward to seeing you and giving you a big hug.
Oh,
So thank you very much. Thank you, listeners. This has been Virtually Amazing Assistants, the podcast for assistants everywhere. I'm Shelley Fishel, the MS Office Maestro, helping you solve all your Microsoft Office problems. And I'll see you next week with another amazing guest.